What's going on, Javi Lobby? It's your boy Javier with the Javier Show. Make sure you say it twice. All right, so I got David Silverman in the back room, and David Silverman is somebody that's dear to my heart. I consider him to be an OG, and most of y'all probably know David Silverman. If you don't know, he was actually on my 4 hour live special, and that went great. A little heated debate, but David wanted to come on because we wanted to discuss something he has in the works, dealing with the vaccines. So I wanted to have him on and we can have this discussion and let you all judge for yourselves and see what David has going on. With that being said, let's get this party started.
1 in a million to one villain. Too hot to be in the kitchen. I'll end up melting the ceiling.
David Silverman in the house. What's going on, David?
Hey, it's good to be here, Javier. Good to see you again. Thanks for having me back on the show. I really do appreciate it. I'm excited to be here today.
Not a problem. Not a problem. You're always one of my favorites to come on, so that's
Thanks,
always
brother.
a good thing.
Thank you, brother.
So you got something in the works. How you been? First of all, how was your Christmas and your holiday?
You know, I'm good. I'm doing good. I'm feeling well. I'm feeling strong. I had a good Christmas, and my idea on Christmas has changed. I'm oddly completely fine telling people to have a Merry Christmas these days. And you know, I was thinking about that, and that's a pretty profound thing if you think about it. The fact that I have made a change. I have gone from, if somebody says Merry Christmas to me, I always say Happy Holidays back to make a point. I'm much more comfortable now saying Merry Christmas to them. And I'm looking online, and it just seems to be maybe it's just confirmation bias, but I'm seeing a lot of people on the atheist side softening to Christmas. And, you know, I believe that relates to the issue of tonight, which is that the old issues aren't important issues anymore. Okay. In God We Trust on the license plate, the nativity scene on the public lawn, it's kind of moot. It's not that important. And I think what the points that I used to have to make, either it's because we won and we're normal, you know, the point was to make atheism normal, and we did that. And also the fact that battle is just not important anymore. What is more important now is the fight against wokeism. And the fight against wokeism is in part a fight against the idea that you cannot question authority, that you cannot go against a grain.
Yeah.
And
people say follow the science, but we should be following the scientific process. And part of the scientific process is being able to ask questions.
Yes. It's a mandatory. It's not a disposable. It's an indisposable part of the scientific process. Okay.
Yeah.
Questioning that is an indisposable part of the scientific method. Challenge is an indisposable part of the scientific method. And so here's the situation, Javier. There's a vaccine. I don't know if you know this. There's a pandemic, right? You may have heard of it. And
no, I've been living under a rock.
There's this thing called vaccines, and and I am very pro-vaccine. I just got my booster. I think everybody should get a vaccine who can get one. But I abhor mandates. Okay, as much as I love vaccines, I love civil rights more. Okay, civil rights are the thing. They are the thing that we should be protecting. They are the top of the line.
Well, David,
constitutional civil rights
are you saying that the greater good of humanity shouldn't supersede people's individual liberties?
No. Well, there's a line there, right? Okay. So when you say the greater good of humanity, that's a very, very subjective place. Okay. Mm-hmm. Is it for the greater good of humanity if we all walk around in hazmat suits or stay at home all the time? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. If we all were self-confined to home all the time, lives would definitely be saved. Right? That's an indisputable truth.
In a way.
Lives would definitely be saved. Okay. There would be fewer car accidents. There would be fewer there would be no car accidents. There would be no plane accidents. Okay. Nobody would catch any disease from anyone else. Human lives would be saved. but there's a cost to that, right?
Yeah.
And we all agree to that cost,
Mhm.
okay? Because we want to live lives. So this this greater good is a relative term. Now, when COVID started, I remember when COVID started, there was the general consensus was there was a 30%, a 70% chance that you were going to get it, and a 3% chance that you were going to die. So there was a 2.1% chance that you were going to die. Okay, that's a scary thing. Okay, but now the death rate from COVID is down 2 orders of magnitude. Okay, so now now that line is getting real gray. Okay, now you've fallen way below my line. Okay, so you if you go to the David Silverman of February 2020, okay,
yeah,
and you say to that David Silverman, "Hey, David, this incoming disease, it's not a 3% mortality rate, it's a 0.05% mortality rate, or 0.02% mortality rate, 0.02% mortality rate. So it's more than 2 orders of magnitude lower. You tell that David Silverman about this, that David Silverman's going to take off his mask and go with his normal day. He doesn't give a crap about it, and I still don't. Okay, so that's where the problem is. And of course, this whole big rift is being promoted by the news media, which it's just spinning in different directions. The right news media is saying this is harmless, it's a cold, just be careful. The left media is saying this is a pandemic, we're going to die, it's all your responsibility, you are your brother's keeper. And so the right's like, I'm not your keeper. It's 99.98% survivable. I'm not your keeper. And that's why this is going back. And these guys are saying, well, that means you don't care about humanity because it's really, really deadly. And so that's a big mess.
That's the most powerful narrative that's going on. Because there are groups of people, especially in the woke ideology mindset, whereas they no longer see society as a group of people all coming together, deciding to take risk in order for the greater good of each other. They see it now as society should go to the whims of whatever they believe is better for everyone.
Yeah.
And they don't want to take any risk.
Right.
It's like,
so they don't want you to take any risks.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like, if I'm going to live in society with other people, that means I'm going to interact with people who disagree with me on a wide variety of issues. Yep. And for the greater good of both of us, we're going to have to make sacrifices and take risk in order to seek the reward that comes with those risks. But they want to get the reward.
Risk is fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes risk is fun. Excitement is fun. Okay. Risk is okay. It's fine to have the risk. And that's why I really, really hate vaccine mandates. I am a pro-choice person. I've been a pro-choice person since before I was a pro-separation of church and state person. Okay, I'm talking 16 years old when I first had the idea. It was all about this: you own yourself. Okay, this is one of my oldest and deepest held positions. You own you. Okay. That's why I'm pro-choice when it comes to abortion, and that's why I'm pro-choice when it comes to vaccine. I own me. I got the vaccine. I wanted to. You do you. And what you do doesn't affect me because I got the vaccine. And even if I get sick, it's a 99.98% chance that I'm going to be just fine. So I'm not worried. If it was a 3% chance that I was going to die, we'd be having a different story. But since we're 2 orders of magnitude lower, you're well, and I don't care. I'm just done.
Let me push back on something real quick because I want to flesh this out. Right now,
okay. It's not why I'm here, but okay.
Yeah. I get you. But I know that there are going to be people in the comment section that are just like, oh no, pro-choice and being like, abortion and vaccines are not necessarily apples and apples. It's apples and oranges.
In my view, they are.
I get that.
You own your body.
I get that. And I think the rebuttal would be that the people who are pro-choice when it comes to abortion, the people who are pro-life would push back and say, well, that fetus inside of you is not technically your body, which is why they raised the objection that it's not the same as the vaccine. I'm just pointing that out. We don't have to go into a debate about that or anything. I just know that I can hear the comments right now.
It's all a matter of when you think life begins. Okay. If that thing in your body is alive, then it's not your body, then it's a living being that you're killing. If that thing inside your body is not alive, then it's a tumor that you're just taking out. Okay, and that's what the question is. Yeah. Abortion just comes down to when you think life begins, and nobody really has a good answer, frankly. So it's all a matter of a judgment call. And I do get the secular anti-abortion stance, which is, since we don't know, just eliminate all of your chances and just go to conception. Yeah. I get it, but I don't agree with it because I think that there's a lot of play in there where that thing is not alive, and that woman owns her body, and it is her body, and she can do with it what she wants. And then at that point, until that thing is alive, it's contraception and nothing more. That's what I'm going. Okay, but my point is, I don't want to talk about abortion. I'm not here to talk about abortion.
Yeah.
I'm here to talk about vaccines, and this is a very important issue to me. I've been down, right? And this is not. I had not intended. I tried to come back into activism, and it didn't work out. And I pretty much just focused on Medicare. But this issue is, in my opinion, a mandatory must-address issue. It is important. It is vital. And the atheist movement at large is ignoring it. They won't touch it. We're going to lose rights. It's important. So I'm doing something.
Because I believe that Joe Biden is actually pushing for vaccine mandates currently.
Yeah. And now here's the scoop. Here's the idea. Atheists for Liberty has a member, and that member works at a major company. And that major company has a vaccine mandate in compliance with OSHA, which is a government entity. Yep. That vaccine mandate says if you don't get a vaccine, you're going to be fired unless you have a religious exemption. And so our member is going to be fired. But his people in his own group who also are not vaccinated, they get to keep their job if they get tested every week. Our member is volunteering to get tested every week, but he's being fired because he doesn't have a religious exemption. This is religious discrimination. This is thinning atheists and not religious people from the roster. Okay. This is coming from OSHA, so it's federal. This goes against the state law against discrimination. It goes against the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. It goes against everything. It goes against equal protection. And because it's coming from the government, the Biden administration itself, it's establishment of religion. It's First Amendment. And frankly, it is the most clear-cut case of religious discrimination and church-state violation and establishment of religion, the most clear-cut case that I've encountered in my years as an atheist activist. This is the government coming in and saying, if everybody's going to get fired unless you're religious and claim to be religious, and then you can keep your fucking job. Okay. And then the atheists can go. They're fired. They don't have that option. Okay. And so this is the clearest cut. It's obvious. And here's the thing. Okay. It's not harmless. It's not okay. Okay. Because all through our country, we have vaccine mandates for children. And all of those vaccine mandates have non-religious exemption clauses partnered with them. Yeah. In the state of residence of this member, the state vaccine mandates allow exemptions for strongly held beliefs, because this issue is a real issue. You cannot give atheists and you cannot give religious people an option that atheists don't have. That's religious discrimination. You cannot do that. Atheists are a protected class. You can't discriminate against us. So all the places, all the states that have vaccine mandates that have religious exemptions have secular exemptions too. But OSHA does not.
So I'm guessing here the issue is, whereas we've already set a precedent with all of these other vaccines, and we set a precedent in law, period, that if you're going to offer anybody religious exemption, you also must offer it to the non-religious as well. And they're deviating from that precedent in order to discriminate against non-believers or people who don't claim to have any religious faith.
And in doing so, setting new precedent.
Yes, setting new
That's
precedent.
the problem, okay? That's the issue here. We're losing our rights, okay? We are losing our rights. We have a system where it's pretty good, okay? There are mandates. There are exemptions for strongly held religious beliefs. If you've got a real big problem, whether it's religious or non-religious, you get an out, okay?
Yeah.
If you eliminate, if we just sit, okay, if I, as a pro-vaccine person, let this sit, all atheists nationwide are going to suffer the loss of a right. Okay,
I'm assuming that there are religious people who would agree with you as well, who would also.
I think everybody should agree with me.
Yeah.
Okay, I think everybody should agree with me. I think nobody should disagree with me on either side of any issue. This is religious discrimination, and it's clear, and it must be fought. And it's coming from the federal government, and it's being cloaked in all the COVID stuff. And I don't want to say whether it's intentional or not. Okay. What I'm saying is it's happening, and we have to fix it, and we have to fight it, and we have to make noise, or else we're going to lose rights. This is how it happens. This is how we lose rights. And I don't think we should do that. And of course, since this is an anti-woke position, because you can't question authority, nobody can question vaccines. There isn't another person in the atheist movement other than Thomas with the guts to deal with this. They're just dicking around with nothing issues of yesterday.
Well, let me ask you a question then. If other atheist organizations and groups are not willing to stand up to this, one could argue, well, why shouldn't you just sit back and let them suffer for it if they don't want to stick up for themselves? Because I get that,
because they don't represent me. I don't give a fuck about those organizations. Okay, those organizations are dead. Okay, they're not a thing anymore. But they still have the job of defending the other atheists. You know, the 25 million, the 28 million or so atheists in this country that I've been defending for 25 years. Okay, and I'm going to keep doing that because nobody else is going to. And if nobody else is going to, and I'm the only one who's going to fight it, then I'm going to be the only one who's fighting it. And if the entire atheist movement puts their tail between their legs and walks away because they want to stick around with nothing issues, I don't need them anyways. Yeah. I don't need them.
You know, it's really mind-boggling, because I remember when Donald Trump was in office and he was working with getting these vaccines produced and things of that sort and made, that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden was very skeptical about the vaccine from the very beginning. It was like, oh, I don't know if I want to take it, things like that. And then I remember hearing people on the far left and people who were siding with that whole mindset saying, oh yeah, I don't trust it, I don't do that. And then the table shift, and now it's like, oh, well, we trust the vaccines because Joe Biden's in office now and things of that sort. Now they're the same people. Yeah, now they are the same people who don't care about other people's skeptical position or unwillingness to get the vaccine. Now that it's like they don't understand that they were just the same people doing the same exact thing.
Oh, they understand it. Fine, Javier. They're just lying. Yeah. They're just lying. They're just playing you. Okay. They're performers. Politicians are performers. Politicians are liars. And that's true on the left and the right. But frankly, more on the left these days, in my opinion.
Yeah, because Joe Biden said that he wasn't going to mandate.
Yeah, and then vaccines. He did, right? What an ass.
Yeah.
Ass. I can't. I didn't vote for Trump, and I'm glad I didn't vote for Trump, but I'm also really glad I didn't vote for Biden. Okay. I got more and more glad and proud that I didn't kowtow and cave. This is the first presidential election I didn't vote blue, and I couldn't be prouder.
Yeah. See, earlier you brought up the fact that like Merry Christmas, for example, is not much of a big issue as it once was, and you notice a shift. Now, the question is, where is this new atheist momentum coming from? Like, if atheism is changing in itself as far as the battles that we need to fight and that we need to focus on, then that means that these organizations or atheists themselves need to reposition what it is that they value and what they should be addressing, like the vaccine mandate. You're taking the initiative, you're stepping out in front, and you and Thomas Sheedy and the people you associate yourself with, Atheists for Liberty, and y'all are deciding to take this fight on. Have you seen any amount of support or people who you think in that atheist camp who are motivated to get behind something like this?
Extraordinarily few. I don't expect anything from the atheist movement in support of this. I am anticipating that the entire atheist movement will be against it because they're useless and they don't do anything. Okay. I'm ashamed of them all for this. They have been sitting on the movement itself has been sitting on its ass for this entire pandemic, and it's been completely silent. Yeah. It was silent for the election, and it was silent for the pandemic. And now it's silent as we literally lose our class, as we literally are made second-class citizens. They're sitting on their ass, dicking around with nothing, doing nothing. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that. Right? But
this is related to the vaccines, right? Because I missed the whole new atheist movement. I kind of missed it. I was still young, locked up, and I completely missed it. I got a hold of this whole thing after the fact, and I had a lot of catching up to do, which was a good thing in my part because I feel like I didn't get caught up in all of that. And I was able to see things from the outside looking in. Now, if that's the case, atheists were the ones who were strictly being against the government, using their power to erect statues for religious, doctrines and things of that sort. And they were telling the government, like, you can't do this. This is not within your purview of power. You're not being fair.
Right.
You would think that same mindset would translate over to this vaccine mandate. But it's done this whole little trickery here, because what it's done is now the atheists looked up to the government to get the things that they wanted. Now they're solely dependent on the government giving them direction because they feel like the government is the only path to get what they want. So they feel as if they want the vaccine mandate. Therefore, it's justified if the government gives that, because most atheists probably are okay with the vaccines. Let's just be fair.
Oh, sure. They're fine with the vaccines and repugnantly with the mandates.
Yes.
Okay. But I mean, it's important that people get this. Okay. You can be pro mandate. Okay. And still support what we're doing. Okay. Because this isn't a pro or anti mandate thing. This isn't a pro or anti vax thing. This is a, you can't treat atheists different from the way you treat religious people thing. Okay. And that's the important part here. That's the vaccine is just the mechanism for the discrimination, which is happening. And people are getting fired and losing their jobs while their religious counterparts are keeping their jobs. That's happening right now. And it's happening only because they're atheists and not religious. Happening right now in this country. And we have to fight. We have to fight.
There's two things I want to ask you because I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit here. That way we can flesh out.
You?
Yeah, I know, right? So on one thing is, if atheists have the ability to get the same amount of treatment as the religious believer, then one would make the argument, then there would never even be a need for religious exemption in the first place, because you don't need a religion to get that exemption. So shouldn't we just do away with the exemption altogether, and just those people who object to it should have the right to object to it?
Well, in the state of the residence of our member, that's exactly how it is. Okay. In the state of residence of our member, he lives in Minnesota. In Minnesota, the vaccine exemption there is no religious exemption in the vaccine. What they have is a conscientious objector clause. If you have strong opinions against this, you don't have to do it. And that's what everybody does. So, and yeah, that's the right way to do it. That's the right way to do it. You're correct. The right way to do it is to get rid of all religious exemptions and replace it with a conscientious objector clause.
Yeah.
Or take the religious exemption clause and make it a religious or philosophical exemption. And that's all we're talking about here. That's all we're talking about. A strongly held religious or philosophical. 2 words.
Okay.
Religious
Now
or philosophical.
Here's the second thing that I want to raise. Religions usually, for the most part, have some kind of religious doctrine or some kind of mandate passed on to them by their creator or who they believe to be their creator. And they get their moral compass from those books or those doctrines or belief systems. Atheists, on the other hand, don't have any dogma or any doctrine that they have to follow. So one would argue, well, where is the atheist getting the objection from? Why should atheists be in the same camp as the religious? Because atheism it doesn't really have a defined set of guidelines. So how do we know that you're just not pulling something out of your behind and saying, "Oh, I don't do this because I'm an atheist"? No one will say that.
In the Bible, in the Old Testament, right? There's a lot of stuff that people don't do, right? God talks about killing people who work on the Sabbath, right? So even the most religious people, they all parse what they believe and what they don't believe, okay? What they take for absolute truth and what they just take for metaphor, okay? And that's a subjective opinion. And so, where do atheists get their beliefs versus religious people? They get them from the same place, okay? Religious people get their morality from their society, from their surroundings. They make their assumptions, they make their decisions, and then they take an extra step because the atheists do the same thing. They both get their religious morality from the same thing. And then the religious person looks up in the Bible, finds the passages that supports it, and says, look, it's in my Bible, it's holy. That's the difference, okay? Nobody gets their morality from their holy book. They get their morality from their society and from their upbringing and from whatever is in their brain, and then they find it in their holy book. And that is proven true by the fact that they pick and choose what's in that Bible. They're not going around killing people because they broke the Sabbath, okay? So given that fact, the atheist and the religious person both get their morals from the same place. They both get their strongly held positions from the same place. One justifies it with a religious book. That's just well and good. But the fact that you justify it with a phrase in your book, that doesn't make it holy. That doesn't make it good because your book isn't really holy. It's just a book. Okay. And so if the atheist wants to say, hey, you know what? I got my ideas from reading The Selfish Gene. And that's his book. Well, it's the same freaking idea.
Yeah.
Okay. He read. He's thinking. He read The Selfish Gene. He's like, yeah, that's what I agree with. And something else in The Selfish Gene. He didn't like that part. But this part, he's like, yeah, this is the part that I agree with. It's exactly the same process.
Yeah.
Okay. It's exactly the same process. Atheists and believers are exactly the same thing. Okay. That's the whole idea. It's just a matter that the religious people are using the Bible to justify and remove the responsibility for making their own decisions. That's all.
Yeah,
that's all.
I would agree. I would agree with you on that.
Morality is not sourced from the Bible. It's the other way around. That's the reason.
Yeah, we all put a filter, whatever filter of society we grew up in, and our values and stuff. We put that filter
on. Or 2 or 3 or 4 filters. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we start to interpret everything else from that position. So the Christian just does that with the Bible. They just use that same filter to filter out what agrees with their values already and what doesn't. So we got the situation on our hands. What's the next step? What do we do?
So here's what we got to do. Okay, we've got one definite plaintiff. Okay, we need everyone else. So right now, we're trying to figure out what this is going to be and how big it's going to be. I believe this could be a large class action lawsuit against the federal government and a whole bunch of major corporations. And so what we need from that is everybody and anybody, please spread this video around. If you or someone you know is an atheist who is not getting vaccinated and is facing a punishment that is different from his religious or from his or her religious counterparts, that is religious discrimination, and they need to contact me or Atheist for Liberty and get us and get in contact with us. That's everybody, and as far as I know, that's going to be a lot of people, I believe. Okay, and so we really need to spread this around. If you're an atheist, you're not getting vaccinated, you're losing your job, but your religious counterparts are staying because they have religious exemptions. That's religious discrimination. It's against the Constitution for you to be fired, and you need to call us. And then what we're going to do is we're going to see how big that pot gets, see if there's a way to, and the other thing we have to do is raise money. Okay. And you know what? I've asked a lot of people for money before. Okay. I've asked a lot of people for money before. We're talking about atheist civil liberties. We're talking about the literal loss of a right. We're talking about literally placing us in second class. We're talking about going from here to here in this year. Okay. And we need money, and we need money to pay lawyers. And so please donate. If you have any money, it's almost the end of the year. I don't know if this is going to be out before the end of the year, but if you have any money to donate, Atheists for Liberty is a 501c3, and we really need your donations. It will go straight to the lawyer. By the way, I'm doing everything that I'm doing is all volunteer. I'm not drawing for this work, but the lawyers will draw work. So we need to pay them. If you could please donate a lot to Atheists for Liberty at atheistforliberty.org. And we're going to hopefully raise enough money to get a great lawyer who can put together a class action lawsuit and save this right, because we have to fight. And Javier, I really appreciate you bringing me on to talk about this, because, this is, I've been involved in a few different lawsuits, right? Think about the World Trade Center cross. Think about the public, the bench in Florida, the crosses in Utah. This is more important than all of those, right? Yeah. This is way more important than all of those, because we're talking about literally second class. This is going back to the RFRA level of work, right? And we lost the RFRA, and that ain't good. We can't lose this one. Yeah. Okay. This must be fought. So, I'm probably going to be donating to this cause myself. Not only my time, but my money. Because this has to happen. We can't lose a right. We can't let COVID take away our right. And so thanks for having me on to talk about this. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. If you could stick around for a few extra minutes after the show, because I would love to ask you some questions just on the personal side, and for my Patreon supporters. Definitely. And everybody, please go to atheistforliberty.org and support, because whether you're religious or non-religious, we all should, have the same rights, the same liberties, and the things of that sort. And
whether you're pro-vax or anti-vax, and pro-mandate or anti-mandate, okay? Everybody should support the idea that atheists need to be treated equally to religious people. That's the message here. We have to look past the tribalism. We have to look past our opinions. We can't let atheists be treated differently from religious people simply because of their religious differences.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very passionate about this, obviously, but
I get you.
I appreciate you bringing me on to spread this word. This is going to be a new project.
A lot of my listeners know I'm an atheist, and they're religious, and we still love each other. And so I do believe that everybody understands what the message is here. Thank all of y'all for watching, and we're gonna go hang out in the Patreon section. So
Patreon session.
Yeah. So if y'all want to see that, y'all definitely go to
that's what I'm talking about, all the sex and drugs, right?
Yeah, that's the stuff you can't put on YouTube.
Ah,
Well, you can find the link in the description below. Definitely go check it out. I'm going to put the link to the Atheist for liberty.org down in the description as well, so y'all can click that and go straight to it. So thank all of y'all for watching. Till next time, everybody, be peaceful and be great. We out.
thanks, everybody.
1 in a million to one villain. Too hot to be in the kitchen. I'll end up melting the ceiling.